Hello and welcome to Ryno's Orioles Report. So, kind of a tough week for the Orioles. They went 3-3. They did take the series with the Yankees in New York, but the home series with the Texas Rangers did not go well. See, I am on MASNsports.com. Let's check out the first game with the Yankees. Went into extras. See, Orioles 5, Yankees 6. Got off to a good start for the Orioles, but here in the middle and at the end of the game, let some runs go. As you can see, Aaron Judge had 4 at-bats, only 1 hit with an RBI, and get to that a little later. Mullins and Henderson homered. Gunnar turned his hitting around a little bit this week. As you can see, 4 for 2, 2 for 4. Oh my God, starting with 4, and that's I know better than that. 2 for 4 is nice. Frazier 2 RBIs. Favre in right field again. Gonna get back to this. And yeah, Bradish started this game. Did not pitch well, in my opinion. 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, only 3 strikeouts. That's not good. That's a whip of 2. That's pretty bad. Michael Givens, a little bit on the upside. As I mentioned last show, he did make his debut with the Orioles, or season debut, I guess. Second stint with the Orioles. Had a scoreless inning, which you like to see that coming off an injury. Cano pitched 2 innings. Really taxing on Cano, I'm sure. 3 hits, 2 strikeouts. Batista in for the save. As you can see, 1 run for the Yankees in the 9th to tie it. 1 run in the 10th to win. So that means off Batista. Remember how I said more on Aaron Judge in a minute? Yeah. It was with 2 outs. Was it with 2 outs? May not have been with 2 outs. I thought it was. Doesn't say a 2-out RBI. I would have said 2-out RBI if it was so. Batista got ahead of Aaron Judge. Like that close to a strikeout, and then hangs a splitter. So, yeah. There went that. Aaron Judge tied it up because I don't know if this is overuse on Batista's part or more appearances and people are seeing him more, or the fact that you're facing Aaron Judge in New York with the game on the line. Not sure I've seen Batista hang a splitter that much, if at all. If anything, I think he usually spikes it in the ground if he misthrows a splitter. Baker came in the 10th. Didn't want to stretch Batista out too much more. You see a run, but not an earned run. That is because the extra runner in extra innings doesn't count as an earned run against the pitcher because they didn't allow the guy to get on. Major League Baseball places him at second base, so they felt it shouldn't count against your earned run average, which is very nice of them. Go to the second game against the Yankees. You like to see this win after a tough loss, 9-6 in New York. Very nice. Relatively uneventful as far as scoring goes for the Orioles until, the seventh inning. Did have the one in the fourth. Yankees 2, 3 in the third and the fifth. Didn't appear to be going our way, but then like an avalanche of offense in the seventh inning. Mountcastle Frazier home runs, Henderson a double. He did pinch hit. RBIs from Mountcastle had 2, Santander had 1, Frazier with 3, Henderson with 2. See if we can check out the play-by-play and talk a little bit about how that actually went down. Frazier home run. Yeah, home run. Frazier homered with Hayes and Santander on. Because I'm not in the play-by-play. Let's go to the seventh inning. There you go. Santander walked. Hayes singled. Then Frazier homered. McCann singled. Teo singled. Then Henderson doubled. And that's how. What are we up to? 5? Yeah. And Mullins struck out. Rutschman walked. Pitching change. Mountcastle sacrifice fly. Trying to remember. That's right. Judge did have a throwing error. It was a relatively close play at the plate with, as you can see, Henderson scoring. Damn near perfect slide. Full head-on Superman into the plate. Kept the hand tucked until he got, almost next to the plate, reached it out as to avoid a tag. But the catcher couldn't exactly field Judge's throw, so. Then Santander here. Singles in Rutschman. Hayes singles in Santander. Or, yes, single. That was it. I mean, that was that's huge. Wells started this game. One of the worst performances. I don't want to say worse. It wasn't a great performance, yes. Is it his worst one of the year? I don't know. But it is the worst one we've seen in a long time or at least it feels like a long time from Tyler Wells. He's been pitching very good. 5 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, which is pretty good, right? I mean, 5 hits and only 2 walks, that's still a relatively low whip. 8 strikeouts. Couldn't get the win because, they hadn't scored. The Orioles didn't score until the 7th. So Bauman in relief, 1 inning. He got the win. Givens only pitched a third of an inning this time. You can see no hits, 2 walks, and a wild pitch. So little bit of a setback, I guess, if you want to call it that. Only able to get 1 out, and you wild pitched. Not 100% sure what his problem is. He does have a less traditional windup, and he has tweaked it since we first saw him. I'm hoping part of this is just not going to rust off because he hasn't pitched that much, or, hasn't pitched much in games. When it really matters. Pitch a lot of bullpen sessions and rehab stints or whatever, but for really real out there. Hopefully it's just that. Coulomb got the whole 1 2/3. Only allowed 1 hit, got 3 strikeouts. That's a very good performance. Batista, another save before Batista. It is very good to see that your closer, your young closer, after hanging a splitter that got jacked out of the park the night before, you can come back, strike out 2, get a save. Very nice comeback for Batista. Final game in New York, at least for this series, 3-1 Orioles. Very good. I mean, maybe it's just me and I hate the Yankees because I've been an Orioles fan my whole life. I love going into New York and seeing the Orioles take a series from the Yankees and almost swept them. If it wasn't for that hanging splitter, it would have been a sweep. But shit happens. Very low scoring game. First run wasn't scored until the 5th by the Orioles, then 2 by the Orioles in the 8th. Yankees were able to put 1 run up in the 9th. No home runs. Frazier, Hayes with doubles. 2 RBIs by Hayes here. 1 by Santander. Henderson, another steal. Does feel like it's been a while since, Mateo has gotten a steal. And it does seem like the steals are going down. Like when the season started, they just started running all over the place. I do think some of that was lack of the book being out on, one, the Orioles running, and what the new changes were going to have. What effects the new changes were going to have. Increased base size, which means shorter distance between the 2 bases, first and second, and second and third. Even though third base doesn't get stolen that much. And the disengagement rule by the pitchers. They can only do 2 per at bat, and on the third one they need to pick the guy off or throw the guy out or however, or the runner gets the next base. Kyle Gibson started this game. Hasn't been too much flashy stuff from Kyle Gibson this season, but he's been very steady. 6, 7 innings. Very low on the run side. Low on the strikeout side, but you like to see very low amount of runs. Give 2 hits, 4 walks. Yeah, you don't like the 4 walks, but overall, he had a whip of less than 1 for this game, so that's great. Even though the strikeouts are low, if that whip can be, less than 1, you're going to take that. Bauman playing the setup role this time. Doing fairly well with this relief pitching. I think I mentioned that last show. You can see a second hold here. Pitched 1 inning, got 2 strikeouts. Very nice to see. And with Batista pitching the first 2 games of this series in New York, Cano got the save opportunity for the 3rd game. Gave up a run, but wasn't a home run either, was it? There was a double in here by Calhoun. That's, yeah. with 2 outs, as you can see. 2 out RBI Calhoun on the double. So 1 hit, 1 run, 1 walk. That's part of it. As Rick Dempsey would say, nothing good ever happens after a walk. Did get a strikeout, but forced save. So, yeah, you don't like seeing him give it up runs, but you got the win. Yeah. Well, as you know, I mentioned the Orioles had a big onslaught of runs in Wednesday's game against the Yankees. It was their turn to give up the big run total in an inning. The Orioles lost this one 12-2. This was the game where they debuted their new City Connect uniforms with this new series. Ooh. They might be bad luck uniforms. I don't know. We'll see if they bring them out again. Rutschman homered. This should be here in the first inning. That was the Rutschman homer. And of course, Vavra, my favorite player, gets a 2-out RBI late in the game. Making me look bad. John Gray really locked things down. 7 innings, 8 strikeouts. Look at some of the names here. Grayson Rodriguez. Sadly, it will be a while before we see, well, I guess we technically don't know, but he does have to be down in the minor leagues. Yes, that's right. I said the minor leagues. Because after this performance, he was demoted, so it may be some time before we see Grayson Rodriguez in the major leagues again. Mainly out of necessity and getting some other guys an opportunity to a certain extent, because Keegan Aiken was brought up with the Rodriguez send-out. Some of that is wanting to get another arm in the bullpen. The 2 extra inning games in New York kind of tax the bullpen. So that does kind of leave the Orioles shorthanded in the rotation. It's possible you just send Grayson Rodriguez down there for a few days to get an extra arm in the bullpen. It's possible. That is. We'll just have to keep a lookout on the transaction newswire to see what's going on. 3 1/3, 6 hits, 9 runs, 8 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. You like to see, right, almost 2 strikeouts an inning. I think part of the problem is he has a big fastball and he has a nice slider and changeup and curveball to go off of the fastball. But he's got his, and I don't know how to define it. I want to say like a middle at-bat pitch, like a setup pitch. You got your 4-seam fastball, and then you got your off-speed pitches, and then you got like a cutter or a sinker or a 2-seamer, kind of like setup pitches. Or maybe in-between pitches or something. Grayson likes this cutter. I don't have a problem with them throwing cutters, but as Jim Palmer mentioned, I think it was this broadcast, some guys start to fall in love with the cutter. You really can't do that. I've always been a bigger fan of the 2-seam fastball because it does go into a right-handed hitter and away from a left-handed hitter. And it also has a little more pronounced drop to it than a cutter does. So it's not as much of a drop as a sinker, but there is some drops, so there is some ability to get ground balls. Because Grayson doesn't really have a ground ball pitch. He's got strikeout pitches, and that's about it. Some pitches that get jacked out of the yard because you're not throwing your cutter well. You want to rely on your forcing fastball more, and they start timing it up. Yeah, it's 98, which is great, but you can just time that. Both in relief, 3 2/3 an inning. You do like to see a pitcher like, let's say, a Voth, middle relief to long relief role, being able to go 3 innings. Yeah, he gave up a run, but you're giving the team a chance to come back. 2 hits, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. That's really good. That's a really good 3-inning performance from Austin Voth. Cionel Perez, very nice to see him turning it around this season. 1 inning, 1 hit, nothing else. Yeah. We have seen some position players, at least for the Baltimore Orioles, come in and pitch fairly well. I think Chris Davis got a win in Boston a few years ago. Stevie Wilkerson got a save. This was not one of those performances by Ryan McKenna. The pitch he was throwing up there, I mean, I seen slow pitch fastballs thrown faster than that. I mean, a slow pitch softball. That's what it really looked like, except slower. It's like a 35 mile an hour just lob. Yeah, Jim Palmer was not happy with that demonstration. And he had every right to be. It was a very bad look. It's one thing to have position player come in there and pitch. It's another thing to turn it into a beer league softball game. Not a very good look. I don't. You have to change your pitching staff then. You can't cover 9 innings 6 times a week, maybe even 10 innings in there somewhere. Then you have the wrong pitchers on your pitching staff. You got 8 men in the bullpen, you got 5 starting pitchers. If that's not enough to cover all the innings, you're doing something wrong. And it would be different if, he could have some resemblance of a pitcher out there. Saturday's game against Texas, 5-3. Texas Rangers over the Baltimore Orioles. This game was not as close as it appeared to be. As you can see, the Orioles got 2 in the 9th. It's garbage time at that point. All right, Austin Hayes home run. Oh, look, Teo got a stolen base. He finally got a hit. Keegan Aiken didn't waste any time throwing here. Well, I mean, that happens. Dean Kramer got to start. All in all, it wasn't a terrible performance by Keegan Aiken. 6 1/3, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Now that is 7, but he almost pitched 7, so it's a whip of very close to 1. So there's nothing wrong with that. 3 runs, that is not a lot for 6 1/3 of an inning. Now Baker did allow an inherited runner to score, so Or I guess, wait. Okay. One of these is one that Baker allowed in. It's a fairly nice performance by Kramer. It's just the offense didn't help him out at all. 7 innings pitched by Mr. Heaney. Only 3 strikeouts. Bats just couldn't wake up Saturday. Baker, some of this I think is overuse. Some of it I think is seeing him a lot. The more and more teams see you, the more and more they have a book on what you're trying to do. And therefore, it makes it easier for them to figure out and get hits. 2/3 of an inning in relief of Kramer, who got the first out in the 7th. Yeah, should be the 7th. 2 hits. It's not great, but it does happen. See, Givens came in relief, 2/3, so he started off the 8th. So the way I'm seeing this, a run, not an earned run. Givens got to 2 outs, then Aiken came in, and that's when the throwing error took place. So not an earned run by Givens. Though at the same time, he wasn't able to close out the inning, and that's not great. But Keegan Aiken, fresh from minor league, AAA Norfolk, 1 in the 3rd inning, only 2 hits. Even though I did have a fielding error, you do like to see that he can come up right from the minor leagues and not be a, dumpster fire. Came out and did his job fairly well. Yeah. Trouble fielding, but you almost expect that from pitchers. Sunday's game. Finally, got the win in this series. Did not make it a clean sweep for the Texas Rangers. As you can see, 2 runs in the 1st inning. Should be Mountcastle had a sac fly, and Hayes before him got a runner in. Hayes would end up with a triple. No home runs. So kind of a lackluster, except for that one big explosion in New York. A relatively lackluster offensive performance from the Orioles this past week. Is a little concerning. Some of it, I think, is just very good pitching performances from the Texas Rangers and, I don't know, New York, I guess. Who knows? Mullins a hit, Rutschman 2 hits, so he's not struggling. Hayes doesn't appear to be struggling either. It's really the rest of the lineup that's not contributing that much. Arias has been down for a bit. He's trying to come back to, get back to form. But Mateo not getting as many hits as he once was is hurting. Henderson's in a little bit of a slump. He did turn it around earlier in the week, but kind of came back around in the Texas series. Bradish started the game. It is nice to see because between Kramer and Bradish, one of them I think is in the Manny Machado trade and the other was the Dylan Bundy trade. And I can't remember which is which. I want to say Bradish came from the Angels in the Bundy trade and Kramer came from the Dodgers in the Machado trade. 6 2/3, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk. Very nice. Whip below 1. That's fantastic. 4 strikeouts. Cano, I've seen this before. He blew a save, but it's like, I guess it was the 8th inning, maybe? I, I don't really know how you can blow a save that early. To me, it just doesn't. It's got to be at the end of the game for a blown save. You can't blow a save several innings before the game is even close to ending. Some of these ninth innings can go on for a while. Just, like in football or basketball, it's like, here's your last chance. So now, timeouts are used more and replays are used more and such and such. I can't give you a blown save before the ninth inning. It has to be in the ninth inning, or it's not a blown save to me. So I don't really understand that. But yes, Cano. And again, some of it is overused. Some of it is the book is out on him. So 1 inning, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 unrun, only 1 strikeout. Coulomb came in relief because as you can see, 6 2/3 by Bradish. So Cano finished out the 7th, and then 2 outs in the 8th, and Coulomb finished the 8th inning off. And as you can see, Cano allowed the Rangers to tie the game in the 8th, but the Orioles got one back in the 8th. With Coulomb on the mound, even he probably wasn't going to come out for the 9th, he gets the win because technically he was the pitcher in the pitcher slot when the Orioles scored the run. Batista, after a few days off, yes, it's because the Orioles were getting their butts kicked, but it does appear that this helped him. Batista got his 13th save, 1 inning, 3 strikeouts. Looked much better here. And part of it probably is the rest. So the Orioles kind of fell because they only got 3 wins and 3 losses. 34-19. It's still a very good record. Now a bit of bad news. John Means, who was hoping to, I think they were hoping he would come back maybe late June. Like I'm trying to say June and July in the same word. Late June, early July-ish, I think was the timetable. Well, he was working out with some medicine balls and strained his back a little bit. So it's not arm related. It's more workout related, I guess. Now it's a strained back muscle, so there's no real time frame, but it's probably pushing him back to August. So that's not great. And this article was written by Rock Kubatko, and this was Sunday before the game. And as of then, the Orioles had not announced Wednesday's starter, who was supposed to be Grayson Rodriguez, if I remember the rotation correctly. So, we'll see where that goes. Let's go to the schedule, see who's coming up this week. Now, it is Memorial Day, so they have already played a game by the time I recorded this. See, they lost to the Guardians, but I'll talk about the game next week. 2 more games against the Guardians, Tuesday and Wednesday. Off day Thursday to travel to San Francisco and play a 3-game set against the San Francisco Giants in San Francisco. So that'll be nice. But on a good news note, no more pitchers batting in the National League, so we don't have to worry about that. Look at the standings. Where's the standings? How much ground did the Orioles lose? They are 4 back. didn't help. They were able to stay in front of the Yankees. Texas Rangers. Orioles saw them earlier in the year. Texas Rangers have been coming on strong. So you can see they're 34 wins, tied with the Orioles in wins. But Orioles are still in the thick of it, and that's really nice to see. All right, that is going to do it for this week. Be sure to like and subscribe. I will do a show next week, and I'll talk about the Cleveland Indians. It's weird having them play the game already. It's kind of throwing me off. Like and subscribe. I am the Angry Ryno, and this is Birdland.